Welcome back to step 2 of perfecting your makeup routine. And a question I get asked a lot is, how do I know what foundation to wear? What's the right foundation? And there's so many different answers and I don't want to overwhelm you. That's the one thing that I don't want from this series. The most helpful thing that I could probably give you is that there's 3 different types of coverages. So there's a light coverage, which is self-explanatory. It's just going to give you a nice even finish. A medium coverage, which is just a little bit heavier. So maybe if you've got just some small blemishes that you want to cover up, but still be confident throughout the day. And then you've got a heavy coverage, which is for your glam makeup, maybe going out, or if you're concerned about any problem areas like acne and you want to make sure that they're covered up and the makeup's going to last all day, then I would pick a heavy coverage. I personally like to go for a light or a medium coverage depending on what I'm doing. For the purpose of this, I'm going to pick a medium coverage foundation, and my choice for this is the Sculpted by Amy. This is their Second Skin foundation. I really like this because it's really buildable and the match for my skin tone as well is just perfect. But another one that I have been loving as well is from Decipher. Now this is a brand where you can upload a picture of your face and essentially AI will match it up and make a custom foundation for you, so you can't really go wrong with matching that if that's something that you struggle with. Let's go in with the foundation. What you may have seen a lot of influencers do is just go right on the skin, and if you're a beginner, this is not the way to go. What you want to do is get a little bit on the back of your hand. That's just one pump. This is going to warm up the foundation to make it easier to work on your skin, but what we're going to do is we're going to buff it into the brush. So what I mean by that is we're just going to do tapping motions on the back of our hand and just make sure that that's all over the brush, and you should start to see it just blend into the back of your hand until there's nothing really there, and then we can go in and apply that on the skin. So what I don't want to see is any swiping motions. That's not going to get you a nice flawless coverage. What we want is dabbing motions. So we want this kind of motion and just dab it, pressing it into the skin. And as you can see, just after just a couple of seconds, we've already evened out that skin. It's just amazing. So we just started on one side of the face, just so you can see. What I would do is start in the middle of your face. So start on the upper cheek here. And that's where I need it most. That's where most of my redness is and most of my acne scarring. So I focus mine up here and just, again, dabbing motions. And then you don't really need, obviously this is depending, but you don't normally need a lot of foundation here. So just make sure that you're blending that out here, but also that you're not putting too much on, especially if you've opted for a light or a medium coverage. And don't forget the chin. And you just want to work that all around the face. Even go onto your eyelids too. And then what I like to do is, once that's all on the skin and maybe you just have a little bit left on the brush, you just take it just a little bit on the neck, just so it's all even. In this section, we're also going to talk about concealers. So there's a few different types of concealers that you may need depending. So one of my favourite ways to use concealer is to brighten the under eye. I love a bright under eye. I'm trying to turn it down a little bit though and maybe not go as bright, but we'll see what happens. So there's 2 kind of concealers that you can do to do this. Obviously, one is to use a concealer shade that's a lot lighter than your actual skin tone and just use that under the eyes. Another way that you can also do this is with a colour corrector. So these are my 2 favourites at the moment. So this one is from Kosas and then this one is from MUA. Again, all of the products that I'll be using are cruelty free and vegan friendly. Let me show you. I'm going to go in with the Kosas one, and this is in the shade Magic, and I'm just going to place it here. But what I'm also going to do is use another Kosas concealer, but just using a lighter shade, and also just going to place that, make sure that's the same amount, just here as well, just so you can see the difference. Let's go in with one. You can see how much that's brightened under the eye, and there's like a slight pink tinge to that too. And then we're going to go on this side just with a normal concealer, and you can see that there is a slight difference between the both. I actually love both of them, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over this one with the normal concealer and just make this look a little bit more natural just for today. But usually you can maybe use both of them as well, and it'll just give you, look how bright that is underneath the eye now with that on top. So to make this even, I am just going to go back in over the top with this one, and we should look about the same. And then once I've done that, I'm going to use my foundation brush again and just tap everything so everything's nicely blended together and there's no harsh lines. Obviously, another way to use your concealer is if there's any additional redness or any blemishes that you have. For that, you will need to use a concealer that's the most closest shade to your skin tone. Some concealers that I like personally on a day-to-day basis is this one. This one's more of an affordable option. So this is the Collection Cosmetics concealer. And then, of course, we also have the Kosas concealer too. What I'm going to do is I'm probably just going to use a bit of concealer just to go either side of my nose here, because I have a little bit of redness here. I just want to even that out. What I also like to do is any remaining concealer just on the end of my brush, just go over on the eyelids just to make sure that there's no redness or any other colours kind of coming through on the eyes. So that's part 2 finished. And make sure you stay tuned for part 3, where we're going to talk about cream bronzers and blushes.